Here we are. Oh, what's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 39 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and joining me as always is John Clark. What's up, John?
Not much. How are you?
Well, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Rod Breslau on the show, aka Slasher. What's up?
How you doing? It's good to be here. We're missing one now.
Yes, we are missing the one, the only red-eyed, but unfortunately, he was moving to Germany this last weekend, and for some reason didn't have internet set up by the time he got there, which is crazy because that would be the first thing I would have done, I think, if I was moving anywhere.
I asked him if they could set it up ahead of time. He said something about just some rules or regulations that didn't allow him to do it, so it had to be just as he got there, I think.
Man, I don't know how. Man, I'm pretty sad these days because I think I would go through withdrawal without internet for even a night. It's pretty sad.
You know, he probably made this happen because he knew that I was coming on the show. So he just happens to not be able to get internet.
Yeah, exactly. Mysteriously.
Well, I'm going to have you on again soon, Rod.
So the guys at ESL can't get red-eye internet? You guys are not going to get an internet?
That's what I was saying, man. I was like,
and apparently they won't. They'll shut down the offices. But you'd think he'd be able to ask, hey, can I stay a little later?
Well, since when do they actually shut down the offices? I mean,
is it only 10 p.m. in Germany right now?
Yeah.
It's only 10 p.m. That's not bad. That's like the morning time for eSports.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Gamespot, Rod, you could go in office, right? If it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah, you pretty much stay there
exactly
all night. When I had to do the MLG arena, we went back to the New York CBS Interactive offices at 12 o'clock to 1 to cut the MLG arena footage. So yeah, totally.
Yeah,
so what the hell,
ESL? Slacking over there, man.
I'm putting this on Carmack for no other reason than
exactly.
Why not? You got a lot to prove this weekend in Poland, so here, have another one. Not getting red-eye too on freaking Tuesday. It's all on him.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Red-Eye's gonna be at that event too, but hopefully we'll have him back next week. Yeah, But why don't we get started with just a little bit, some of the news. I don't want to spend too much time on the news because, obviously lots of other shows, including your show, Rod, do a great job of it. So let's not spend too much time on it, but I did want to go through some of them. And wanted to start off with just a lot of the news in StarCraft 2 related to teams and Korea and team houses and that sort of thing. So why don't we start off with GSTL news. So basically two big announcements regarding that with the teams. And one, Axiom and Acer are going to be participating. And then today, I think early today, we saw that Grubby is going to be joining forces with FXO and participating in GSTL. And so I kind of want to ask you guys, why the big interest in jumping into GSTL now? And is it just kind of a cheaper way to kind of enter in these Korean team leagues than spending that $100,000 on Pro League, or do you think it's something else?
Go ahead, Rod.
Go for it, man. Listen, I watched last week, all right? And this is not the Slasher Hour at the ChanmanV show. So, John,
well,
I'm always going to be courteous to you here to be able to answer first to get your point of view in, because I am in for equal boxes. And if you watch my show, you would know that. So, equal box time here on ChanmanV show. John, please go ahead.
I think it's like a foot in the door. Not only for exposure, but probably for some of the players and such to get. I mean, really, would you, if you had a team that wasn't making any money, which most of these teams are, would you, bust your balls to come up with $100,000 to get into the Pro League? I mean, I don't even understand it altogether, to be honest with you. I think we need more homegrown stuff, but that's just me.
Slasher, what do you think?
So, who was ever to say that the Pro League is still the more desirable league right now for StarCraft 2? Just because Kespa has the Pro League, and it is really freaking awesome to watch Flash and Jaedong go up against each other in that league, and of course EG and TL are in there. It's still not for sure a thing that is the more desirable one of the two. GSL, pretty much at this point, is the whole reason why Korean StarCraft 2 is where it is right now. Yep. Kespa and Pro League and the OSL did not exist at all until the most recent seasons. OSL is still not happening yet because they're doing League of Legends. So you do have the Pro League there as the main league, and people are watching it a lot. And I am seeing some people say that they like watching Pro League over GSTL. But I think that just might be because it's going on right now. And once GSTL restarts again, I think it'll still prove to be the highest tier league in terms of the games that are played inside. And that's always going to be the most important thing to a lot of people, is if the games are the highest caliber of games. We've also had magic happen at GSTL finals, of course, with Marine King and Parting,
right,
at IPL, and then all the championships that we've seen. I think that, the buy-in fee, which we've heard is about $100,000 to get into Pro League, which is probably what, EGTL paid, and the other teams have to pay to get in. I mean, I can't really say that is worth it yet. There's no indication that the Pro League is more advertising or anything else than GSL. Even though you are on TV in Korea, I still can't say it for sure.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting having, foreign teams like Axiom and Acer really join forces. I mean, Axiom, obviously, new team, mostly, or they're all Korean, actually. So I can kind of see that, and Jenna obviously went there recently and bought a team house. And so that that's kind of where all the players are staying. But it's kind of interesting for teams to make that move. I mean, I wonder, how profitable to the brand do you think it is for them to be participating in GSTL? John?
I better
Yeah,
resort to Rod. My phone's ringing. I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no,
how do you?
It's great though. It was great. I'm just gonna let it go.
Well, okay. Never mind. We'll just let it go. I'm still confused as to what. I mean, I can understand what their thoughts are, but what do the teams? And I hate using this word, but what do the foreign teams? What do the North American, European teams get out of? As far as exposure and revenue opportunities, what do they get out of it that translates here? Or is this really just a shift in teams deciding that their main presence and their main exposure is going to be over there? I'm still confused as to what they see they're getting from it.
I mean, you get it, but it is the biggest StarCraft 2 team league. It's the main team element in StarCraft 2 right now. So you have all these teams that have players individually, one-on-one sport, and there really hasn't been a big team league in this scene since, I would say, the WC3L, which was under ESL, which was a really cool DIY team league for Warcraft 3 that grew into one of the most prestigious team leagues for Warcraft 3. After that, you never really had the same thing in StarCraft 2. So now you've had IPL put on the IPL team league, which is pretty cool, and you've had MLG and other leagues try to do a few things here and there, but really GSL is the one to be pushing the team league format for StarCraft 2 thus far. So having a team over there and proving that you can be the best with those teams, I think really does a lot. I think it also gives a lot to FXO as a great example. They're a team that probably doesn't get enough credit for the players that they have, and of course Leenock's been winning a ton of championships. He was up for Best Player of the Year, probably last year. But still, there are other players. They have now won 2 GSTL championships, and any of those players, if they went over to more international tournaments, would probably place a lot. But they don't really do that. They just end up winning the hardest Korean tournament in the world. And I think that we do need that for teams. So I think I think it's a great move.
Yeah, do you see this being a trend? Obviously, team leagues are be becoming more prominent. I mean, GSTL's always been big, since it started in Korea. But now with Pro League, and there seems to be a push for this team format now, right? I mean, for a long time, StarCraft 2 has been very individual based. Are we going to see less players in the international tournaments because of that? Because obviously Pro League, I think a lot of people already talked about Pro League. The people participating in Pro League are less likely to go to a lot of events this year just because of the commitment to Pro League. So are we going to be seeing that trend? And if we are, is that actually a good thing for us? Might as well just ask Rod because John and John.
So I think maybe there won't be the same situation that we had in the past IPLs where there's like 30 Korean players or 20 to 30 Korean players. Maybe we won't have that anymore.
Do you think that'd be a good thing, though, Rod?
I don't think it's a good or a bad thing. I love it. I love having every single best player at one tournament because I think that just makes it even more prestigious to have. And you're talking about storylines and better for viewership and all that other stuff. Yeah, you could probably say less Koreans the better chances for a foreigner to be up there. That is equal to more people caring because people care about that storyline against the best Korean players. People care about the best foreign players like Stefano and Huck and Naniwa, etc. So people care about all that more. But if we're just talking about the best players in the world, it is neat to see all the players at one tournament. But I don't think it's going to make it any less legitimate if we only have 10 to 15 of the best Koreans instead of 20 to the 30 of the best Koreans. It'll just mean there's slightly less, and that's actually going to be better because one of the biggest things last year and most issues that we've had from all players is fatigue and how much travel they've had to do across the entire world just to play tournaments, no practice in between the tournaments throughout the week. And I think that's going to help alleviate that for a lot of players.
Do you think some of the collaboration between DreamHack, MLG, and ESL will play into this? Do you think that will help a little bit in this situation as far as... See, my issue has been it's great to have 30 of the top Koreans at a single event, but let's remember there's like 12 single events in a 3-month period, so you end up seeing the same thing over and over again. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing either, but I think for a lot of fans it's like, I saw this last week at IPL, and this week's MLG, it's not really that much different. Do you think, though, that the collaboration between three of the big organizations will kind of may be able to help eliminate some of those issues, or we'll get more storylines out of a broader range of players, or do you think there will be any sort of connection between those?
I mean, if we're just talking about StarCraft 2,
yeah,
I think that's probably the first game that all three leagues have the most vested interest in right now. So it'll be the first game that stuff gets molded around. But yeah, I would hope so. That seems to be one of their initial goals, and also Blizzard's goal this year. One of the things they said at the end of 2012, even from Morhaime, was they wanted a better story for the viewers out there, and they will be working with the leagues to, help alleviate that for this year. And now, ironically, IPL has announced Wings of Liberty as the main event for IPL 6, and MLG has pseudo-announced through Twitter that Heart of the Swarm will be the main event at Dallas, and those two events are 2 weeks from each other, with Heart of the Swarm being before the Wings of Liberty event. That does not help at all in terms of the continuity for the fans right out of the gate for this year. Aside from that, I think that's illustrative of MLG, ESL, and DreamHack working together, and IPL not being part of that partnership. As an aside note about that, so I hope those three leagues will at least, make it so that it's easier for the players first to get around to these events and not have to travel so much that it hurts their games, and not lets them practice in between weekends, and keeps the skill high.
Right.
So that's passion.
I think on a side note as well, I think some sort of unified ranking system will help too, because even though we may see the same players from tournament to tournament, because of the ranking system, you'll have something else to root for. You'll have something else that's involved in the tournament itself that gives fans of a specific player something to kind of grab onto and say, well, if they finish in the top 3 or top 5 in the next tournament, they're going to be ranked this, and they'll end up in the championship or something like that. I don't know what their plans are specifically as far as those guys, the organizations go, but I think that will help as well.
All right, let's move on. A couple, I guess, news.
Oh, by the way,
yep.
the thing for Axiom specifically.
Yep.
Great. I love everything that they did. I like the putting back together Slayers, all the players they picked up. They have a really solid roster right now, probably top 4 in GSTL, And then you add on MMA, of course. I mean, what could be better throughout all of this than to have him back with his ex-teammates
brothers.
and have Scarlet over there to play in Korea might be even the biggest news out of everything.
So will she be over there?
That's a solid team.
I don't know. Like, is she for sure going? Because
I don't see why they would put in the announcement if she wasn't for sure going. Because Nurchio is not in that announcement. So they have Acer has other players. I would expect her to be going over there, and that is a sick team.
That's definitely that's a potentially winning team, honestly.
On paper, that is a championship caliber team.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about the team houses there. So 2 team houses I think folded and 2 team houses opened, in the last week or so. And the 2 team houses that opened were Clarity and Axiom. And we've talked a little bit about the Axiom, just Jenna going over there buying a place and a Total Biscuit, and they had a YouTube video kind of doing a tour of the whole thing. Looks great. Definitely looks great. I don't think there was anything on the Clarity house. Did you see any video or tour of the Clarity house at all, or Clarity Gaming house? I'm not sure I saw anything on that.
I read their Team Liquid kind of bi-weekly update, and I didn't see anything about that either.
Okay. So two team houses closed down, which one being Fnatic, which I think a lot of people saw coming anyways, just given just a lot of the action or the transactions that were going on with the team itself. And then Complexity announced it, right? Which again, John, me and you obviously have been hearing kind of for a while, or not for a while, but for the last month or two that the house was, well, they had lost the Gamma sponsorship, right? And now that was kind of tied to the house. But so what do you guys think of Complexity closing down their house? I guess let's just talk about that, since that's one of the, besides EG, probably one of the only, it's the only team house in the US right now, right?
Well, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a shitty thing that it happened, but I actually think it's a good thing, because I think we were ahead of ourselves as far as teams, considering the fact that StarCraft is not a team game in the first place. Putting together team houses. I mean, I understand the concept, the overall concept of it, but it may not necessarily be a bad thing. It may be a good thing because they can refocus, refocus things, find new ways of creating revenue. EG is in a definitely kind of a different level. They're definitely more of a marketing group, and they've done a very good job at it. So they kind of have, some legs to fall back on. One thing I wanted to point out was that the way that Complexity did it, as far as closing down their house, I know it's slightly different in the way that Quantic did things. You can see it's night and day. It was very well handled by Complexity as far as the information that they put out there and how they explained kind of what was happening. So I'd like to believe that that's the case. I'm sure we'll hear more, but I do think that it's going to be a refocus on their part. So I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing.
Slasher?
I mean, their team was decimated. That house was primarily put together around StarCraft 2 players, not a Counter-Strike team or even a League of Legends or Dota team. Even though they do have a championship here as a Neuro team, which plays there occasionally, it's still mainly around the StarCraft 2 team, which is now no longer there. They've lost pretty much all of their players, or other players did not perform up to par. Mm-hmm. The house was not a success. No, EG is the perfect example of what you should do for a team house. Now, of course, they have a lot more finances to back that up and to make that happen, but you need to produce a lot of content out of that house, and it really is more of a marketing and content tool than even results tool in how you do in tournaments. Of course, it's supposed to be mainly for practice, but I think that's also right. It's
Rod, I have a question about that. Hold on, let me have a question about that. If you took away the actual physical building of the house from EG, I'm curious, and I'm not sure if people have thought about it. What do they give us from the house?
Yeah,
what content? What do they bring from the house? What would be any different than making sure that you coordinated the same efforts with the same number of players in the same way, but they were remote? I'm just curious, what EG brings from the house? I know this is a side note from what we were talking about before, but you might know a little bit more about that.
I think it's just a home base of operations, probably, for the team. All the players are together. I think it helps do content. It helps do hype videos like their signings, because you get to bring them somewhere, film everything, and you have all the players there, and you have the house, which has now been in several of the videos itself. The house is part of their team. They have done a good job, along the way of really making that apparent. Mm-hmm. I think for everybody, practice wise, no, is practicing on the North American server really great for everybody? No, not really. I mean, they do play against each other. I really think that helps. They do have good players, so I think.
And Control is there to help coach them, so that's good too.
God. I mean, the main reason I think for bringing it up is really that everybody always talks about opening a team house and making content in this house, and I kind of agree with John, is that there's not much content that actually involves like the house. There's no reality type of feelings, like show or content that comes from it. Sure, the house is involved in a lot of the player analysis and that sort of thing, but it's definitely more of a headquarters, for EG than it is, than it is for making content, that sort of thing, which is fine. That's completely fine. They've done a great job with it, but for folks to open a house and have, there's no real great business model for having a house right now, you know what I mean? Like, so that's why it's like when folks like Complexity and even Quantic, open a house, spend like $500,000 to $1 million on a house or whatever. I just don't see how you can recoup that money that you just spent on that.
I actually think that the Fnatic house is a little more interesting, even though on the surface it may seem less interesting, because that was a foreign team, much like Axiom or EG, making a house in Korea, where you do have the training facility, scheduled facilities, and also stuff to do like GSL, GSTL, and now Pro League in Korea every day that you don't have still in North America and Europe. And they couldn't find a way to make it work. I talked to Karn a little bit, a few days ago, and he just didn't see a reason to do it right now. The amount of money that it costs to make it happen wasn't going to make it happen for them. Now, also for Fnatic, though, they lost Moon. Alive has, removed his tag on Twitter. No comments from him or from Fnatic about what's happening with him or Oz. Juani is left for EG. The team is also in shaky state right now. So for StarCraft 2, Fnatic and Complexity both need to fill some holes right now.
So Rod, that kind of goes back to my point, is that if you take the players away from the house, or certain specific players out of the house, then the house becomes decimated. It has nothing to stand on. So what I'm wondering does there need to be, when teams decide, okay, we're going to get a team house, what is the reasoning behind it? So we can get all of the top players together. What if those top players back out? Will the house be able to stand on its own? Is there enough content? Is there enough reason to keep the house open if you don't have all of these top players? I guess that's just a question. I'm just curious more than anything, really.
Well, I think the obvious answer is no, right? The whole point of the house is to have everybody together, whether it's for practice or whatever, content or whatever reason you want to give. But yeah,
there's so many different reasons to have the team house. Each one can be individually. If the end goal is to make money, then you need to have a plan around the house, and either something like EG, where they have a large, bank sum to work with and pitch sponsors on things, which is now they have covered, or you need to have a good pitch for a sponsor for something that you're doing. Either if it's around the team house and it's just the players getting so freaking good and winning everything that the team gets sponsored, fine. That could be one goal. If you're going to produce all this content and have it branded and sponsored by advertising, fine. That could be another goal. Total Biscuit, is one of the actual largest producers of content on YouTube and in the world for everything he does. maybe they have a plan there, especially with Jenna and the history they have. That could be a way to do things. So there's multiple ways that Team House can be beneficial. The old school Korean way has always been the practice and to win.
Right.
I still like that one to be the best. I think Axiom will actually do a good job in that way.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Also, I have to apologize because I have allergies and a little bit sick and my nose is running. So don't hate me too much more than usual.
Just got the different tenor today to our show. Let's see. Let's move on. Let's move on to season 3. Let's spend about just a few minutes on this. Season 3, NA Qualifiers. First impressions on how it went.
I don't have any because I didn't watch any of it. So you can't ask me
say that.
I know you can.
Oh, I absolutely can. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to fluff. I paid attention to what was happening as far as what people were saying. I didn't have a chance to tune into any of the production value of it or anything.
What'd you think, Rod?
I thought that I saw 150 to 175,000 people at one time watch a qualifier tournament with Curse as the big team playing, but aside from them, in terms of traditional League of Legends teams, they were really the only big one. And then you had a bunch of pros on former pros on different top teams on smaller teams. Then you had, of course, Marn as the fan favorite from the fighting game community coming out.
Pretty cool.
And really, that was the story. I think to me and to everybody this weekend is Marn getting the 5th and final spot.
That was pretty sweet, actually, I have to say. And I didn't know Marcus was working with them until recently.
Oh, you didn't know?
And
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah. Beat is all over Team Mark.
He is, man. He's brand. He's what is it? He's the brand. I forget what his title is. God, the brand manager or something like that for the team, which is I know. Gee, it's crazy. But yeah, Team Martin, that's pretty amazing. I think he finding out that Curse would have broken up after if they didn't make season 3, they were going to break up too. Was kind of an interesting thing to hear too. Even though there was no chance they weren't going to make it, but
they should have broken up if they didn't make it to season 3.
Yeah, I
mean, that would have been awful. They needed to make it to season 3. There's no question about that. But Marn really is the story of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And what y'all think about the studio and everything? I mean, pretty good.
Looks good.
Yeah,
it looks good. I like it. Wheat, of course, was hosting, and they had Kobe24 there to do some casting and analyzing as well. So they had a good amount of talent up there to do the hosting, the casting, and the analyzing, and the desk, and they had the TV, which the MLG has been doing now after the arena events, which I really like too.
Yeah.
It's getting better and better.
Yep,
and I think having a controlled studio environment, much like the Koreans do, is going to truly show how production can be. I mean, a lot of people nowadays have never seen the CGS production back then, which was still fucking amazing production.
Yeah, definitely.
Which people really never got to experience. And I think that we might have a television-like experience with some of the stuff that Riot does, if they really are putting, this much money and power behind all of it. I think this is only what we are going to soon to come. 175,000 people concurrently for qualifier teams.
Yeah,
North America only.
Imagine
North America only.
Imagine the finals for this year. It's gonna be pretty crazy. So, yeah, definitely a good job on their part, and hopefully it, obviously, hopefully it continues into the other regions. When's the next one? Do you guys know? I guess is EU next or qualifiers?
Yeah, Europe is next.
Yeah, I think qualifiers are next. That's coming. That should be happening pretty soon. So. Check that out, John. Check that out next time. Make sure you check that out.
I will. I'll check it out.
It's a stacked European qualifier.
Yeah, I know. Actually, it's going to be pretty crazy. All right, let's just move on. Let's get off of current news and move into journalism and Rod and everything, all the goodness that you're doing right now.
Journalism.
Journalism.
Yeah, all that goodness and the great
Hey,
stuff.
Chris, before we just ask some of the specific topic questions that you had, and this was one of the ones I wanted to come. I mean, I would say of the 300 people that are tuning in now, most of everyone knows who Rod is.
Yeah.
But there's something interesting for me, at least, for as long as I've known Slasher. And it's up to you if you want to share Slasher, but there's the story that people don't really know, which is how you got to where you are today. Because a lot of people, I would say in the last 2 years, especially StarCraft 2 fans, they've tuned in and they've seen your fiery red hair and your fiery mouth, and they're like, oh, this guy's, he must have been on the scene for a while, or they don't know that you've been on the scene for a while. So it's kind of a curious and interesting story that a lot of people don't know about how you've gotten to where you are, some of the trials that you've gone through, and if you can, just 5 minutes or so of just telling people kind of where you started and how you've gotten here.
All right, yeah, sure. I've been playing video games for like my whole life, right? So even when I was like 3 or 4, I was playing Tetris and Super Mario, and I've pretty much always been playing games since I was younger. And that was like Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I think when I was like 6, 7, or 8, that's when those came out. I went to Blockbuster all the time. And I would play against friends and Primal Rage, Killer Instinct.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of old racing games, F-Zero. And a lot of these were 2-player games. And I would always have kids over at my apartment that were near school, and I would end up playing them in these games. And I would have some friends who play Tekken 2, and some of them were really good, and making me, and GoldenEye, of course, GoldenEye 64, 4 players. So this was like, all throughout my early life was playing a lot of games, true, and I liked RPGs when I was younger, like Secret of Mana is one of my favorite games of all time, the early Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger and all that, right? But I always held like a special thing in my heart for playing against another person as more fun, because I kind of got bored with games after a while. I'd go to Blockbuster and I'd play games, I'd rent them and I'd beat them, and it got boring, so I'd play other people, and that was much more fulfilling for me, even when I was like a young child. And then I grew up with a Mac 2 CE. Not sure if you guys know what that is,
Mac
John.
2 CE.
2 CE.
Yes.
Chris,
Yep.
you do too?
Yep,
All right,
of course.
so you could play chess on that, probably. I think I did. That was probably the extent of things
you could play some cool. What was it? Wasn't an Archon on that, or the first Prince of Persia? Wasn't there like a Prince of Persian-ish type of game or something like that? Like
Prince of Persia kind of worked. No, it did.
Yeah. Okay,
it did.
Okay. Yeah.
But then I got to step up to what did I get? It was another Mac, unfortunately, right? For most of you out there,
for games. You got a Mac for games.
I grew up with
Holy
Macintoshes because my mom had a friend, and he used to work for Apple back then. So I had Macs instead of PCs growing up, which, looking back on it, was probably not great for my gaming career. But went to some interesting things. So that's when I first started to play PC games. And one day when I went over to one of my best friends' place, and he had Warcraft 2. And I started playing Warcraft 2, and I think it maybe only took a week or two, but since that time, I have not gone back to play a single-player game since then. So ever since then, I've been playing online games, and I played Warcraft 2 over P2P, and then there was also Kali.
Yeah, dude, I was all over Kali, man.
So there was Warcraft 2, and then that led into StarCraft Brood War, and I played that for the original StarCraft and Brood War. I was in the first ever Macintosh gaming clan.
Oh, good lord.
Which led my Macintosh ways. And I played StarCraft and Brood War, and played a lot of games, a lot of UMS, a lot of the original Melees, a lot of Clan Wars, also Battle.net warring. I don't know if you remember going into channels and having to reclaim your channel because Battle.net would split, and then when it came back together, you have 2 to 3 ops on your channel, and then people could kick ban each other. God, I
Nice.
hated and loved those times. That is better than the BattleNet that we have now.
I agree
Back
with
in
that.
the
I agree with
11
that.
years ago. And then I played StarCraft for a few years as my main game. And then someone introduced me to Quake 2. I somehow skipped Quake World. I'm sorry to all of you out there who are Quake World fans and will only play the first Quake. And I did skip Quake World, and looking back, it might be the best Quake of all time. But Quake 2 ended up being the game that I really, really fell in love with. As great as I love Warcraft 2 and StarCraft and that whole series, I played Quake 2 for like 7 to 8 years.
Jeez.
And I ended up being one of the best players for in Quake 2 in North America for like a little while.
Can you give us your sources on that?
My sources on that. I used to play with Dehang
on the fact that you were the best.
I used to play with Dehang and Scooby on the Team USA TDM team, and then for Quake 2, and then I was the first ever American team ever in clan base, way back when, to have American teams. So back then there was OGL for North America for everyone that played Quake and Counter Strike. You either played on OGL or you played on the CPO Cal, right? And then in Europe you had clan base, which is where everything Counter Strike and Quake was run over in Europe, way before ESL came into play and everything that we have now. People played on clan base. It's also included Unreal Tournament and a few other games. And my scene died. The North American Quake scene died much quicker than the European scene because of a whole bunch of reasons. And look, we think that Quake is dead this year. Quake started to die like 8 years ago. It's been dying slowly.
Very slow death.
Slowly. Every year it's been dying and coming back and dying and coming back. But the Quake 2 scene was dying, and there were only maybe 30 to 40 good players still in North America that wanted to play. I picked the best 10, and I led Team USA. I joined up the clan base as the first ever American team, and that was my first ever taste of international competitive gaming, like, discussion on a constant basis, because I had to go on IRC and talk to the Dutch admins and the Swedish players and the Norwegian players and the Germans and the Brits and the French and the Italians and everybody all the time. I had to schedule all matches, and we're in all the time zones and all that. That's where I learned that British gamers are the whiniest, most crying bunch of bitches out of all of the races and nations that I've ever met.
That's so funny because nowadays I would say EU players are, I don't know, they seem to be more mannered than the
No, out of really, and everyone that I
Americans.
played with, the English were the ones that complained the most about ping and servers and wanting the best conditions for them, or they wouldn't play, or they complain about something in-game, where the Swedes were really the coolest, of course, right? The Swedes and the Eastern European players were the ones that were okay. Like, the Poles would play with 80 ping and 90 ping and be okay with it. The Swedes would do 2 servers where we could play on an American server and the European server. The English would always say no and be babies. Anyway, fast forward, I started writing recaps for Clanbase back in like 2002 or 2003 for Quake 2, Capture the Flag. I would just do it for no reason other than to just do it for the scene. And then I started writing for ES Reality after Carmack had left to go work for GGL in 2006. And that's pretty much when I first started to do the esports journalism side of things. I'd actually been doing music, heavy metal journalism for the first 5 years. In 2000, 2005, I worked for a site called smnnews.com, and I worked with a lot of extreme death and black metal bands throughout the world. So I went on tour with Suffocation and Behemoth and Misery Index, and I got to interview a ton of bands, and especially a lot of cool black metal bands like Emperor and Satyricon.
Cool.
Way back when.
Has that been pretty parallel to? I mean, do you see parallels in that in the music industry versus esports? Because I've talked to like a lot of photographers that have kind of been in the music scene too, and then have kind of transitioned into esports, and they kind of find it pretty similar.
Well, I mean, I did underground extreme metal, so I actually do find a lot of parallels, because the music that I like is not something that people really
not mainstream
like. So
right.
It's another thing that's underground, and I do find a lot of parallels between the two, and having to try to push to the mainstream and like inch by inch try to push things here and push things here, and as more people show up, it really has, you can see similarities between the two, because I was one of the people that tried to help a lot of these bands get on either better tours or get more fans at their shows, and that would get them to bigger labels. And a lot of the boom that even happened with death metal and metalcore happened in 2000 and 2005, where a lot of those bands got signed to bigger labels like Lamb of God and Mastodon and all that. And things have changed, and metal isn't where it used to be. And I think dubstep and EDM is probably in a similar boat now comparatively.
Dubstep's like mainstream now. Jeez.
Yeah, but it was, underground. It still is sort of. Metal will always be more underground and won't be as accepted.
Yeah.
But so I got used to doing journalism, because I did news and interviews with metal bands for like 4 to 5 years, even to compete against the biggest metal websites, of posting every single day to try to beat them on scoops and stories and all that. And so then I started doing the reality for Quake when Carmack left.
Just going back to the band thing real quick, but when you were doing journalism for them, were you a lot like you are today in the fact that you were not afraid to post something that might have been, to write about something that might have been controversial, or may have been putting down a band, not necessarily putting down, but, exposing something about that band that wasn't in a positive light? I mean, or has it always been you're just more giving information about the bands and about eSports and things?
I mean, a lot of the time I was presenting the news, so I wouldn't skirt news. And back then, I was pretty green. I was not necessarily going to investigate what promoter is fucking over who and what record label is fucking over who. And later on, that was more of discussions that were going on. And I would be the same. I would be the same way. I mean, even bands that I was friends with and I had seen a lot at shows, along with promoters and booking agents, promoters for New York City and the booking agents that would book for the entire country. I would know some of these guys because I'd have to talk to them for even tours that we helped present with the booking agent. And you would hear some stories, and if a bad story came out about that promoter, booking agent, or a band complained, anything would be posted. And no one would get any, love from me because of what happened. And I have had people way back when yelling at me. So I've been getting yelled at by people for a very long time about something that they didn't want to be posted. But I maintained it to be fair the entire time that I've been doing
But
it.
maintain the yelling to be fair the whole time, or your reporting to be fair?
No, my reporting
Okay. I was
to
gonna
be
say.
fair. Like they can go ahead and yell all they want all the time. I'm never going to be able to stop that. I've got that. So I did Quake when Carmack left. That was my first real eSports gig with ES Reality, which is, most people don't know, is the Team Liquid for Quake, or the Shuriken for Quake, or whatnot. And that was really fun. That's when I first got to know John. Really, I had a few events in New York City for GGL, and then I moved on to Gotfrag to do Quake, and I even got a lot of backlash back then moving to Gotfrag to Quake, because they were a Counter-Strike site. A lot of people saw, and let's be real, it really was Counter-Strike mostly, with sprinkles of other stuff here and there. And I wanted to do Quake to bring the Quake audience more to Gotfrag, and to give the Counter-Strike fans more exposure to Quake. In case they haven't watched Quake before, I wanted to expose Quake to a bigger audience. That was really my main goal in esports originally, was to just push Quake as much as possible. And I'll still do that now. Even with the game as dead as it is, I'll push Quake till the very end. And that was a lot of my motivation then. So I've been getting backlash for a while when I did that. that turned into when Godfrag was being bought out by MLG. I ended up was going to go to MLG, but we were not told what was happening with the deal for a very long time. So at that time, WSVG and Amped, which was Amped eSports, which was a competitor to Godfrag for a very long time, run by Ryan Schumacher, which is a buddy of mine, and he got bought out by WSVG. So that was coming to New York City around the same time. I had met with those guys, and I made the decision to work for the WSVG instead of going on to work for MLG when eventually Godfrag did buy them.
And Slasher, real quick, I mean, and you don't have to be very specific, but a lot of these jobs, in some of cases, you had to fight and claw your way into them, and you didn't always get paid. Is that correct?
I mean, I worked for Godfrag for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and I was paid a very, very small amount of money per month. And you found
your own way to the tournaments, in most cases, correct?
Godfrag did pay for flights and hotel for some events, but the only events I really went to were Dallas for CPL. So I wasn't really going to a whole lot of events on the West Coast. I only went to events in New York City because I live there. Sorry. Dallas I've been maybe 10, 15 times. That's how many times I went to Dallas back then. That was pretty much my main location.
Did you have another job at the time?
No,
okay.
Well, he was a struggling journalist.
Holy smokes.
No,
like a struggling artist.
I did some promotion marketing stuff for like Web2 Zone, which was a LAN center in New York City. And I did some marketing stuff here and then. That's actually been the biggest help to the journalism side. And it's kind of mixed in between now. We'll probably talk about later. But yeah, you didn't really get a lot of money working for journalism back then. It wasn't until I started. Basically, it was before and after those deals happened. It was before the MLG and Godfrag deal happened, where a lot of people that were working for Godfrag for a long time that didn't get paid a lot of money all went on to be paid like okay to a decent amount by MLG once the acquisition came to a hold. And then when WSVG came in to buy Amped, WSVG did have a decent amount of money to pay employees. So then when I worked for WSVG, I got paid okay.
So for all those other struggling writers out there, I mean, what is being paid okay for a journalist?
Look, I live in New York City.
Yeah.
I've grown up in Manhattan. Now, as of currently, I live in Manhattan, and GameSpot, CBS Interactive takes care of me right now. But I mean, let's say if I was living all the way in Brooklyn or Queens, I mean, it really depends on where you live and how you spend your money.
Yeah.
And it's really it's always what it's going to be. So, I mean, New York City is probably 20,000 higher to live in. San Francisco, New York City, Los Angeles, a lot of these places, you need 20 to 30K more than what you normally would. You could probably live on, like when I worked for WSVG, it was between like 30. It was like 30.
Okay.
50K.
God, living in New York at 30, that's crazy.
That's still pretty bad.
That's crazy.
It's, it's really hard. You can make it work. Mm-hmm. Right? You can make it work, and it's doable. It's just very difficult to do so. And then, but I mean, if you love to do it, then you can do it. But it's gotten better over time. All throughout the years, the positions have opened up. There's more of them, and they're higher paying now than they ever were back then.
Okay.
So I guess if I want to finish off real quick, I went from not going to MLG, which was an interesting point in my life, not going to work for MLG, looking back at it, and instead going to the WSVG and Game Riot. So then I ended up doing stuff at Game Riot as the assistant editor-in-chief with Stu Grubbs. He was the editor-in-chief, works at Steel Series now. And I think we put together like an all-star writing lineup, one of the best esports writing lineups ever. JP was there, Sam Lingle, Oplad, who was ESFI's main writer for a while before he went inactive recently. He was there. Ted Oddie was there. Zex for a little while was there. We had pretty much some of the best writers for each game, and the biggest games back then were World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, Quake, and fighting games. Smash was there. We had Glenn of Get Your Tournament too. So we put together a great roster of writers for one of the best esports sites ever, and Game Riot was a good name. We had some good social media help there, and had some good domain stuff. But it was decided, because of the way the company was going, one, the WSVG had to stop running. That had to end because it was losing too much money. Each event was costing too much money. Live streaming back then had to go through Akamai. There was no Twitch. There was no owned. Yeah. Akamai cost so much money to live.
Holy crap, yeah.
And people weren't watching at the same time. And the second thing was Game Riot was then turned into a portal website, which was actually not a bad idea at the time, but it killed the journalism aspect of the site. Giant Realm who owned Game Riot and the WSVG, ended up going after sites and buying them as portals for each game, like the StarCraft. World of Warcraft was World of Ming. World of Ming was bought by Game Riot onto Game Riot to be the World of Warcraft site. Starfeeder was brought on to be the StarCraft site, and et cetera, et cetera. There were different portals for the different games instead of having writers on staff. So the entire esports writing staff, all of us, were let go.
Yeah,
from Game Riot and WSVG. And then after that point, I actually worked for SK for 3 to 4 months, which was really fun because I got to hang out with the legendary Swedish Counter-Strike team for a while. I got to hang out with Wale and all those guys, Forrest, etc., for a while, and that was fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are really cool. And so and BDS back then was the main guy that I talked to. Of course, Alexander Mueller as well, but BDS was really good. He helped found SK, helped found Excess Reality, helped founded Geek Boys and So Gamed way back when, which was like the first big esports site. So I had a stint with SK Gaming, and then after that I did social media stuff for like 2 years because there was not a lot of esports going on for a few years. Like 2007, 2008, and 2009 were not the best years for esports journalism, for writing, or for anything going on. CGS went under, WSVG was no longer there. There's all types of stuff with ESWC and CPL, and MLG has not turned over to PC yet, and there was no such thing as League of Legends or Dota 2 or StarCraft 2 or Street Fighter 4 or Counter-Strike Go, or none of these things existed. It was not a good few years for that. So I was actually able to do a lot of stuff in early adopter to Dig, early adopter to Reddit, and to a lot of these social media platforms, which I've then tried to help a lot of companies like MLG and where I am now along the way.
And that's more of in a marketing role too, correct? Not so much as writing, but marketing. Okay.
And all of that has come together now. And really, being a good journalist is about getting the story, making sure you're right, making sure the facts are right. You have your quotes, and you have both sides. Both sides. You get everything in there, but it's also about promoting it and putting yourself out there, and making sure that there are eyeballs in front of it and people see it. And it does need to come together if you want to be a great journalist.
All right. Well, now you're at Gamespot. This 5-minute history.
I was at MLG then. I worked for MLG for a year.
Cool.
And I ran social media for MLG, and of course did the show. Yeah, the great show, and it's a great name. And
it was a great name.
And now I work for GameSpot. And then through the social media stuff, it was with 1UP and UGO. So I was in the gaming sphere still then. I was helping out 1UP and UGO. Then I went to MLG, and now finally GameSpot.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, it's really good to have you walk through your history, and a lot of folks are like, "Oh my God, this is taking forever," or whatever.
Yeah, it's all relevant.
Like Rod doesn't get a chance to actually talk through his history very often.
I'm sorry.
So.
You just want that was
No. We
too long.
everybody's waiting for just craziness, but
I bored myself by talking.
No, the reason I asked it is for that reason is that a lot of times people will look at what you're doing today and the social media side of things, the interviews and things like that, and I've been one too to criticize at times, but what they don't understand, and unlike me, even if I criticize something that you're doing, I know the backstory and I know where, how you got started and everything that you've gone through to get to where you are today. So when there's all this talk, and I'm going to throw it out here, but next week, the executives is coming back, and they're going to be talking about journalism as well with Richard Lewis from Madrid. So there's a lot of talk going on about it, and it's been talked about months ago. I mean, there's been articles and people expressing their opinions, but it's good to have a backstory because, with everyone talking about it, everyone thinks they can just jump in, and it's easy to criticize, but they don't understand everything that's taken to get to this point, I think.
This has been a very long time coming. My birthday was in November, and I'm 20 now.
You're young.
I started playing that Warcraft 2 when I was 12. And the metal stuff was maybe 15, 16. So to get to this point where I am now, which I'm doing pretty good now and pretty comfortable, but it's taken more than a decade to do so. So anyone coming into esports now that thinks that it'll just magically happen, and having talent really does help. It's not going to work that way, and journalism is going to be the hardest road of any of the roads to take.
All right, let's talk about. I want to get your opinion on what Obviously, through your history, you were talking a lot about writing and that sort of thing. What do you think is the best form of reporting right now? Is it video or is it writing? Because I don't know. I feel like a lot of folks, even though I read a lot of your GameSpot's articles and that sort of thing, but I feel like I see you more in video type of reporting, especially at the events, more so than I do see your articles, written articles. So I kind of want to get your opinion on that.
Well, I used to write a lot more than I did video than I do now. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a sign of the times, and I think that's just how a lot of people consume content more so than they used to. Video is consumed way more than it used to, and it's had bigger numbers than it ever has, both live video and VOD content. And I think also with ESPN and a lot of how sports has transformed itself, video content is the premier content for this medium. Specifically, a sports and video game medium, both of the two really do fit a video context because you want to see it on screen, even if there's the cool overlays and the video overlaid into it, showing the highlights. People want to see that more than just the writing. I know I want to watch SportsCenter every morning and watch the recap videos more than I want to read the recap article when I wake up in the morning. And I think that is really for this medium. At the same time, personally, I had, especially at GameSpot and being under CBS Interactive, they have a lot of video initiatives on their own, and GameSpot has a ton of video initiatives on their own, especially with the deals with CBS Interactive that has the different leagues and Twitch TV, that we want to push video more and more. So that's why there are so many video interviews at the events. It's much harder to do the interviews and transcribe them and put them on the site than it is to do video interviews and put them up. Because you have to get editors involved. For editorial writing, you need to get the editors involved and make sure everything's clean. and ready to go up and get the assets together and put that all up. While the video, we have the entire video team, my guys Benito and Eric, to be at the event to cut everything. They are the editing team, and we can put the content up straight from the event. Doing that has been much easier to do than to get writing out. I think that we are missing good writing. I wish that I wrote more, and I want to write more. Not just like stuff about breaking news and who's going where, but to write more in-depth articles, actual
Where would that go? Where would that go, though, Slasher, that people could see it? I mean, because there is good writing, and it's being done by people that don't have a video face, basically. They're not people that are in front of the video, so their writings get skimmed over a lot of times. It gets ignored. Where could some of this writing be, go to?
I mean,
we have ESFI.
Kindred. There's some sites, right?
Do you feel like there's probably there could be more opportunity for people to actually be able to write and it gets seen?
There could be more opportunity. I mean, I don't see this eSports is different than any other community, really, of wanting to break into the scene. If you have a strong voice and you have connections and contacts, then you could be a one-man blogger and make a name for yourself in the scene, even without video right now. It's going to be harder because of how much live video shows like this and Live on 3 and the Good Studio and everything else everyone else does, State of the Game, how much those have taken over forms of content that people want to watch rather than reading. But people will always want to read great content, and if you're a great writer or you have connections or your game or community really well, you can make a name for yourself even on your own.
So you're saying that there are people that, so you're saying there are people that can make a name for themselves that are not good writers. Is that right?
I mean, if you're trying to write, not really, because people can see you're not a good writer.
Right.
And then you won't be any good because you're just not any good. I mean,
right.
Either you're going to be liked or not. Like, not a very good example, but Maddox has a lot of fans, and he can't write, really. And he just rants about stuff. I mean, there are a lot of people that aren't great writers that have a lot of fans because they have a charming personality, or they're funny, or whatever your shtick is, or even that they're very knowledgeable in what they're talking about. It doesn't mean that their writing has to be great. I just think while we are talking about esports, it's no different than any other industry. You just have to work really hard at it. If you want to be a journalist or a blogger, you have to produce content all the time. You need to have your own blog, you need to have your own domain, or you need to make sure that you get yourself on popular sites. So, yeah, if I was just a writer right now, right? Let's say I was in Shobo Peon's position. I would try to make all of the top sites pay me anything they had for me to write for all of them. Because I think the freelancer position is probably the way to go right now in esports, because there aren't enough full-time positions. Even in mainstream gaming, there are a decent amount of full-time gaming positions out there for there to have jobs at. But in esports, it's probably better to be a freelancer and to try to get some money from different sites. You can even now, and I think people should, you can pitch sites like PC Gamer and PC Games and Rock Paper Shotgun and other mainstream sites that are now trying to do more esports stuff to get your name out there. You just have to work really hard at it and hustle. You have to produce the content.
Yeah.
You have to make connections and meet people, talk to players, talk to teams, talk to team owners, talk to other journalists, talk to everybody, talk to site owners, talk to the shows. I mean, this is out of all the things that I've ever done in my life. And research, knowledge, information are always going to be the kings, but you really do have to make personal connections with as many people as possible, and to make sure that you're in the know in everything that is going on.
So,
because if you don't know someone and you can't get to find out some information, you're just not going to find out. and that's also going to hurt you in terms of when you are doing either the journalism aspect or trying to get your name out there.
So let's talk a little bit about, you were mentioning you'd like to write, right? And you did mention you've been reporting a lot of the breaking news kind of stuff too, right? And recently, you've taken some flack for reporting team pickups and that sort of thing before teams actually get a chance to, which we've talked about a little bit already last week, and we think you're just doing your job and that sort of thing, and that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But getting back to like the fact that you'd like to write, how much time do you really have? I mean, if you're spending so much time really trying to get the inside info on these kind of breaking news that you're kind of famous for at this point in our community, right? But it's usually via Twitter that you're announcing a lot of these things. Do you have any time to do anything else? Because you just said that it takes a lot of time just really keeping up with all your just your network and all your contacts and finding out information from them. How much time does that take?
I mean, it's not easy. I have made it easier on myself by have been in this community and in this world as something that I've loved for 12 years now. I've known a lot of people for a very long time that are owners of teams or broadcasters or players or run the leagues and whatnot, and it's made it easier for me to get information quicker. But still, some stories do take a long time to confirm. Like, it wasn't easy to confirm that COG EU was going to be going to EG for League of Legends. That one took a decently long amount of time so that I can make 100% sure that that is happening. Because I can't just find something out from one person or from one source and use that to write a story. I have to investigate the story further with other sources. I need more sources to confirm the story to be true. I need to find out more information about what is actually happening. And I need it to be a complete story on paper to satisfy both myself and for the standards of GameSpot and what should be posted there. So me finding out a little bit of information is usually pretty easy for me because I know little bits of information of so many different stories and things, but to get the full thing takes a longer period of time. I can say that the Axiom story about Hart and Alicia and Acer took a decent amount shorter period than CLG EU to EG. So some things are quicker than others, but it does take a lot of time to, at least if you want the complete story about all the transfers that are happening and what's happening here and who's going where, exactly, that takes longer for it to happen. I do have some time.
Go. Sure.
I do.
Does it bother you, Slasher, that In Control and Idra got an EG in general maybe got so upset about that? Does it? I mean, when you think back to, you go, maybe I shouldn't have, or because of my relationships, because you go back to mentioning that, you have all these relationships with teams and things like that. Does that ever play into how quickly or how much information you share? I mean, honestly, I don't. It doesn't sound like you hold back in the information that you're sharing, but does some of those relationships play a little bit of role into it? And then, let's say after the fact, you get kind of a backlash from it, which you did in the EG case. Does that bother you at all?
I mean, I've known Jeff and I've known Greg for a long time. Back when they were all playing at the WCG Samsung store in New York City and the WCG events for Brood War. So I've known them for many years now. It's not like I just met them through StarCraft 2. No, it doesn't. I mean, people are going to be angry at different stories. I've had everything from players. I mean, this is just what has happened publicly, right? With In Control and Idra talking about it publicly, and then Crepo, who's going to be EG soon, publicly blasting me. But I've had everything from players to team owners to league owners to the 4 or 5 major developers, the first ones that come to your head, all be angry at me at one point or another for things that I have said about them.
I've been angry with you before.
That I have put out there. So I have come, I've taken it in stride now. I understand that Jeff and Greg are going to be angry as players that I am releasing information, and especially with Jeff because he's kind of maybe working into the team management role a little bit more. I know they're going to be angry because they didn't get to. Well, let's be real here. A lot of the anger that they had after I released the info about Axiom and Hart and Alicia is really because I told that CLG is going to go to EG very soon, which we should see confirmed in the next week or two. Because of that happening, that is why they are frustrated, because that announcement to them should be done through them. I mean, it's their announcement that they're making. Why shouldn't they have the opportunity to make that and also to put the full story out there? To me, it has always been, it is not your responsibility to decide what I am going to put out as a story and what is newsworthy. Obviously, these things are newsworthy to everybody with easy parallels to the sports community and journalism,
well,
as well as...
Hold on, Grace, because I want to go to what Scoots is saying in the chat. Because this is a question that was also going to be asked by Tortellini, Michael Cohen. But so it's very similar questions. And here's what Scoots says. Here's the debate that is
come
not
back
happening.
tomorrow.
It's okay if you want to say anyone can use anonymous sources and write away as it happens in real sports daily. The difference here, and again, no one really talks about it much, is spoiling these things hurts the teams or organizations that they were hyping for a sponsor, hyping for a brand, and keeps the things working. Real quick, I want to say on it, one thing that he forgets is that sponsors understand this shit happens. So I'm not so sure they're that concerned about it. They may be, and he would know more than I would be, but I would think that sponsors know that this sort of stuff happens all the time. But yeah, Scoots and another question I had in Skype that both addressed this. I mean, do you think it hurts the teams?
No, I do not think it hurts these teams. I understand that they're maybe trying to sign a sponsorship around a signing of a team or player, which in the first place, I mean, if you're going to sign the team or player anyway, I don't think the announcement... Look, if a sponsor is giving X amount of money for the signing of such player or team, one, I would think that they're looking at it in terms of the long term. The announcement at the very beginning is not going to determine whether they give money or not.
That's what I think too. They've already decided they were going to do it. They're investing in the player.
Secondly, I also think what you said, that they understand that information comes out beforehand anyway, and it's not going to stop them from giving money for the thing that they really wanted in the first place. And even discounting both of those factors, I could actually argue, and I do think, that they get more exposure and more people talking about them and the player and the transaction they made and their brand and everything. When I released the info about Snoot to Team Liquid, CLG to EG, and Hart and Alicia to Axiom, all 3 threads unanimously, or actually, no, let's back it up. 2 of the threads, Snoot to Team Liquid and the Axiom story, had tons of comments praising Team Liquid, praising Snoot, praising Jenna Bain and Total Biscuit, and praising the new team together. So they all got a ton of positive reactions, and then each of them, when they made their official announcement, hit #1 on Reddit for a second time and had the same positive reactions again.
That is true.
All they did was get double the hype, double the promotion, and double the amount of people talking about the story and talking about the announcement, and really everything that was good. The only difference that happened in EG is that not everyone is so thrilled that CLG EU is going to EG. Maybe that is part of it for a little
Well,
bit.
I'd love to disagree with you, but in this case, I agree with you. And so, Scoots, who's in the chat, he completely disagrees with you that it does hurt. But unfortunately, I agree with you.
Let's talk.
Man, where are you?
Let's talk about the information just coming out. I mean, should teams be better about not leak? Be better about the process of this type of news and keeping it a secret, or is that impossible? Just given how you found out about these things.
I look, if the sponsor is truly knowledgeable about the sport, right? So for the team or the player or the management company to be pitching the sponsor and show them everything, that sponsor has to know something about what's going on, right? About esports in general and how it's like a sport for video games and how these are champion athletes. Like, all of these pitches are sports pitches that have to do with video games, about the brands and the players and what they mean to fans around the world and the audiences that they bring in, all the parallels in these pitches due to sports. Why would there be any exception to the parallel of sports journalism and the way that players and teams get signed, and how that news is never, ever, ever, ever broken by teams ever? It is never broken by the teams. I would think the sponsors could not be, they have to be knowledgeable that this is going to be happening. I do not think it is hurting any of the teams. And if it is hurting the teams, then they're not doing it right. Because all they're doing is getting more eyeballs on their brand and what's going to be happening with them, and more people talking about their players and what they're doing.
Okay. I mean, I can kind of see what you mean by. I mean, I can kind of see your vantage point on it, but then again, I can kind of see from what Scoots is talking about too. I mean, there is something. I don't know, like some of their announcements, right, with the videos and stuff. I mean, it was cool seeing those type of things for the first time, with them presenting it in the form of those videos, right? I mean,
but those videos would have still existed, Chris.
Yeah,
it's not that they couldn't still put them out. And again, I want to be clear. I agree mostly with what Rod's saying. I do understand where Scoots is coming from because he's running a business in a sense, and he's trying to look at the big picture. I guess maybe the issue though is that what Rod is saying is that more eyeballs are going to get on it, in a sense, a larger demographic, because there's going to be people that tune in and pay attention to what Rod is saying that may not tune in specifically with what EG is pumping out. So I guess I don't agree with Scoots there. I think more people can be exposed to something if multiple news organizations are putting the information out.
Well, here's the question: like, is the numbers, is the exposure you get from you announcing it, Rod, and then having the teams announce it, is that exposure going to be greater than them announcing and then you announcing it? You know what I mean? Like, just switching the order.
No, because if they announce it and then I announce it, it's the same announcement at the same time. And I'm basically acting as teams' PR companies. Here, send me your press release. I will start rewording it. I'm not here to reword press releases from leagues, teams, players, anybody. It doesn't, that's not my job for you to give me info. Of course, I'm going to take info from these press releases and write stories out of them, but it's not like it works that way all the time where you just feed me stuff and I do what you want me to do. It's at my discretion, and I take what I'm going to take. As a perfect example of all of this, I said that Stefano was going to be signing to EG. Did we not also see a Stefano video, which was pretty awesome, and have a crazy announcement, hype video, and everything for Stefano? So nothing went wrong with that announcement or the hype or the video or the content or anything for Stefano. Why would it have to be any different for these other players? And even further, to go further, it is not my responsibility to, care, not necessarily care, but to interfere with them and their pitching of sponsors. It is not my business. I am not involved there. I am not going to determine whether I release a story or not based upon if a team is going to be getting the sponsor or not. I am beholden to GameSpot and the CBS Interactive and my editors. I am not withholding to anybody else.
Right.
So no one else's business is mine to get involved with. I do not take that into consideration. Even though if we want to talk about the betterment for esports, I understand that, but it really isn't for me.
Well, there's a fine line there too, because I'm a big proponent of finding ways in which we can work together and grow esports as a whole. But at the same time, I understand everyone has their own segment that they still have to deal with and that they're trying to grow on their own. So I can see that. I mean, there is a fine line there too.
Well, yeah, there is. But again, this information is getting leaked, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's not, you can put a penalty on like the player. I mean, a lot of people always say, "Oh, the players are young; they just tweet like the instant they find out, whatever, and then information gets leaked as to where they're going next and that sort of thing." But I mean, I feel like there are steps that you can take to keeping things a secret if you want to be the one that announces it first.
I mean, there are players and teams have been making announcements without me saying anything beforehand. Not because I just didn't, I wasn't on it. It was just because I didn't find out, and I didn't know about it. So it is able to happen. It is just that with this becoming bigger, there is going to be more talking, especially with this type of thing. I picked this type of journalism and the way that I wanted to go about things specifically because I think player signings and trades and free agency is a really, really cool form of sports that we don't have as much in esports. And I wanted to show how much people really love that exact thing of who's going where and who's being traded and who's signing to who for how much money and playing fantasy sports and all that. People have been interested in it before, but I really wanted to show that people love that stuff as much as sports do. And in all of those instances, it is always reported by journalists, and all sources are always anonymous. Always. All of them. The only time there's not an anonymous source is when they say it is a league official. And because we do not have single individual leagues per sport here, I can't say a league official because it doesn't mean anything because there's 9 different leagues. When you say league official in NFL, you mean the NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, MLS, etc.
So talk to me about, okay, so if you don't actually get the scoop from, the horse's mouth, basically, how many sources does it usually take for you to verify stuff? Because, there's talk about just, there's gossip and people talking about sort of, I mean, you're what you've told me before and what I've heard too is that you do get multiple sources. You do try to confirm these stories. So talk to me about how many, what level of confirmation do you need?
I've never released a story about a team or player or league where the source came from that team or player or a league. It has never been the same one telling me the info that has then the story been released about that information. It's always been from other sources telling me that information. And really, you really need at least 2 for every story. So all of these stories have had at least 2 different parties or sets of parties tell me the information that I released. Mm-hmm. And anything that was said off the record has always stayed off the record. Every conversation that I've had with Alex Garfield from EG or Sundance Giovanni from MLG or guys from Blizzard or Riot, and we said beforehand this is off the record, never has that ever appeared in a tweet or in a article published on GameSpot, nor has it been ever said on the show. So I always make sure that if there is something that cannot be repeated or printed, that it will not be repeated or printed. And if you think about the amount of information that I'm releasing publicly, I do know a lot more information privately, but that I cannot publish because it has come from someone face to face.
So the question: what if EG had gotten wind that you were going to release that information earlier than their announcement, and they came to you and said, because this is interesting, because it's not quite the same as like saying to you, this is off the record, but they get wind that you're going to release this, and they come and say, hey, you're going to steal our thunder here. We've set this up with our sponsors to be able to announce this. We really want to make a big deal about it. Our sponsors are expecting it, although I find that hard to believe, but it's possible. I mean, Scoots would know more than me. But if they came to you and said that, how would you handle that situation?
Well, I actually have had a team come to me with that information, and I think I probably will work with this team to release something like almost at the same time, but maybe with me getting an exclusive story on it and or interview from it. So I am willing to make these concessions and work with teams to do this sort of thing. It's just this can't happen all the time for every team, nor can it happen for every announcement, because not every announcement is good and not all news is positive for everybody. There are going to be negative things that come out. I'm also slightly hesitant to possibly work this out with like this certain team or certain teams, because I don't want to be okay working with some teams and not okay working with other teams. I think everyone is going to be different. Everyone's going to want to do different things. Some team owners may not even want to do any work with me now anyway.
I mean,
we're going to ask that,
you're starting to sound like a marketeer now, right? More so than when you're talking about doing things like that, right? It's more of being a marketer than it is a journalist. You're working with these teams to make press releases. I mean,
yeah, it's really what it is. Like here now, we get to work together, and then I become the PR guy again, where I'm just doing what they want to do. Now, of course, you can leverage things like exclusive interviews, which am I going to get it? Well, I don't know if you want to ask me about that. Am I going to get an exclusive interview with EG players anytime soon, or Team Liquid's players anytime soon? I don't know.
Probably not.
You know what I'm going to tell you? We're not getting Huck on Live on 3 tomorrow.
So I do need to bring this up. Hey, Rod, real quick, I do need to bring this up, and Scoots just brought it up too, because it was a question I was wondering. Don't you see that could be somewhat contradictory or hypocritical if you're at one point willing to sit on a story because you're working directly with the team, and at another point you're saying, well, I'm not beholden to anyone, and so my story needs to go out. It doesn't matter if the team doesn't want me to do it. Do you see some contradiction and hypocrisy there or not?
Yeah, I mean, it is probably not good to work with one team over another. I think that also is at my discretion as well. If I don't work with one team and I release info, there is a good chance that certain teams are then now going to put even restrictions on me, where I don't get access to players, I don't get access to the team. That is something that I have to worry about. So then I can have the option, since the teams are going to be putting resistance back on me. It's not like if I release a story, everything's going to be okay. Like, everything might be okay with these teams, and I could still do interviews and features about them, or I may get shunned away. So I think if the teams are going to shun me away, then they can also come to me and try to work out information about a story that may come out. Now, I actually don't have the full information on the story with this one team, so I couldn't release the story to begin with because I'm not 100% sure about it in the first place. I do think it is a fine line. I think because the teams are going to take action back at me if I don't work with them, then it's not so bad if teams then start coming to me to want to work things out. Some of them, where other teams are just never going to, and those stories will still come out. I also think that even if a story is worked out for one thing, it doesn't mean that I will work on it again with a different announcement, where I may just preempt them in the future.
Right. No, I mean, you bring up a really good point, and I feel like that's one of the biggest roadblocks right now for journalism and esports. I mean, it's common in all forms of journalism in different industries, but we've always, the times we have talked about journalism on the show, one of the things is, one of the issues that comes up is being blackballed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Rod, your relationships with everybody, I mean, you have the luxury of getting a few strikes, I think. Like with EG, for instance, you're going to be able to report EG stuff like in the future. Maybe not tomorrow, but, months later, for sure. But lots of other folks, right? And, I've talked to folks from ESFI and other organizations too, and that's one of the things that they have to worry about all the time. And, I mean, what do you say to those folks? I mean, does it get back to networking again, and you have to build this relationship that allows you to be able to get a few strikes, or is it something else?
I mean, I feel like I'm one of the only people that's actually pushing back on the teams. I don't think ESFI. I think they should take more chances. Actually,
I mean, it's fair, right? It's
so. Sorry.
Okay.
I do understand their point that they are smaller organizations. They do not have as much reach in terms of their website growth, or maybe the larger personalities that can warrant not getting the interview. So it's much harder for them to be blackballed by a team or a league or an organization, because that might ruin all of their coverage. But I think if you're not going to take a chance, then you never know. So I would like to see ESFI and other media organizations write more either news before the team or league announces something that they get wind of, like the player and team signings, or just negative features about such and such league or a team about what is going on. I think if you don't take chances, you're never going to know what's going to happen. And I don't see a lot of journalists or these media organizations even taking the chance to begin with to see what would happen afterwards if they would be banned from the event or from.
I'd agree with that too. I mean,
not.
There are definitely a few of you guys, you, Richard. I mean, that don't care.
And also,
I mean,
if an organization is going to blackball you from doing interviews and coverage, I think you have the right to say so, at least tactfully, about what happened, what content that you produced, and then what the response is from the team or organization, whatever it is, and let that out to the people as well. So the people know that such and such organization is now not allowing you to do coverage or interviews with you because you did this. Now, the people, since you're giving them all of the facts and information in front of them, they can either choose A, well, that was the right decision by that organization because you did release this and this info, or B, you're doing your job and that info is correct. That organization is bullshit for now not allowing you access to do your job. And I think presenting the info to the reader and the viewer out there is just the most important, and let them decide.
Well, I mean, so is public opinion strong enough right now that it could sway organizations? Meaning, if that situation that you just talked about presents itself, and the journalist presents it to the public and says, "Hey, this is what's happening. It's wrong." So, could public opinion sway things?
I definitely think so.
Okay.
I definitely think so. With how prevalent social media is now, with things like Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and YouTube, and this is not a good thing a lot of the time, but with the tridents that the community brings out a lot of the time
tridents.
It ain't no fucking pitchforks. We got some tridents, man.
Some Neptune bitches.
As they bring them out quite often, you can see how fast a community can rally behind someone that they feel has been wronged. Now, I wish the community more times would do some research and get more facts to make sure that whatever they're vindicating is actually truthful about what happened. But we have seen the community rally behind people who, they feel has not gotten a fair share, and how that can affect organizations in the past. So I do think that if, something happened where the journalist was in the right and they did not do anything wrong. I have not heard from Alex Garfield, or I have spoken to Victor, who's the owner of Team Liquid, and Jenna left for Korea, but I spoke to her before leaving to Korea. I have been talking to them since releasing the leak. They have not said that I am going to be banned from players. I have not spoken to Alex Garfield before. I haven't spoken to him after all this happened, so I am not sure if I'm not allowed to speak to EG players. But I would find it unfair, yes, personally.
It is unfair.
If that were
Absolutely.
to happen,
I've been in that exact situation, being told that that a certain team was not going to be allowed to interview with us, or we weren't allowed to even talk to them. So
if it does happen to be that I am not allowed to interview EG, Liquid, or Axiom players, I will understand the way that they are viewing things and then how I messed up their plans and did not act accordingly. But I'm not going to think it's kosher to do so. And then I will inform people out there what has happened, and they can see the articles that I put out and let them make their own judgment and decision about how they feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're just doing your job. And that's when it comes down to it. It's like, I feel like the most common thing I've seen is that you're doing it for yourself. And the thing is like, sure, you are doing it for yourself because it's your job, right? And you work for somebody. You work for GameSpot. And, you're supposed to be, reporting this type of thing, generating hits for that site. So that's completely understandable in my eyes. Let's see. Speaking of GameSpot, I think a lot of people know you work for GameSpot, but talk to us a little bit about just how restrictive they are, or are they just completely supportive of everything you do and that sort of thing?
I mean, I have to say, GameSpot has been truly pretty great to me. I get to work from my home in New York City, and their main office is in San Francisco, so they are allowing me to be home here, my home in New York, and do my job from home. And they let me do pretty much whatever I want to. I can go after any story I want to. I can, as long as my information is accurate and is sourced correctly and is also a good fit for the site, they will allow me to do whatever I would like to. If it's team signings, team announcements, wrap-up videos, interviews, previews, recaps, features, columns. I could do live on 3 still consistently, and there's no problem there. I can come on the show in the middle of the day, and that's fine too. They are really been supportive of any editorial direction that I have wanted to go to, and they have given a pretty good amount of resources to me. At least when I go to events, I have been able to go to pretty much every single major event in North America last year, and then we had other people go out to events in Asia and Europe, at least for the big ones for this year. And we've had an entire video crew to do that, and sometimes multiple people at each event. And that's only going to continue so far this year. So I really have no complaints at all about the freedom and access that they have allowed me to do. And I can say I have never been told to remove something from a story or to take something down that I have posted. Nice. And that includes the 4 partnerships that CBS Interactive has with Major League Gaming, NASL, Twitch TV, and Owned. So I can freely write or talk about any 4 of those companies.
That's great, man.
As I wish.
GameSpot hiring more people?
Yeah, that's been a question, actually. They're hiring more writers. I got a couple of Skype questions, too.
I am trying. We are getting closer to, I think, putting together a very strong team. Right now, I am still the only full-time esports person there at GameSpot. And there are a few other editors that work at the Asia site and the UK site and the US site that like esports and do things here and there, But we do not have a full-time staff yet. It is looking good that we may be able to bring on people sometime in the near future. I should know more, but I really hope that I can get kind of the dream team together of sorts. Both video and then also having a very solid writing squad to assist me in doing the stories.
That goes into a question actually again from Michael Tortellini. He gave me kind of a list of some questions to ask, and one of them was what sets you apart from all the other websites and esports news media such as ESFI World, Madrid, and DE Sports. You specifically, and then what you're doing at GameSpot. I mean, what do you feel is a little bit different about what you're doing and the reach that you're looking to get out of what you're doing as opposed to what the others are?
So I think overall, GameSpot, the news specifically might be a little bit behind. But ESFI still does have 10 to 15 people doing, news over there. And a lot of these sites have a ton of news people. It's just me to do everything. That includes news, interviews, recaps, features, exclusives, the video stuff, coordinating, whatever. Our news guys are really focused on all of the mainstream gaming, so they don't do the esports news. So when I do the esports news, along with some posts here and there from the other editors, it is mainly focused on the biggest things that are happening in the space. So that would be, who's winning the really big events, what major league happenings are going, like the Riot made their Season 3 announcement of what's happening so far this year and where the locations are and what teams are playing, how many games they're playing. Stuff like that will be on the GameSpot front page because it has to appeal to the GameSpot audience itself. It can't just appeal to esports. So some things in esports don't work as well for the GameSpot audience because they might not be larger level news. I think that what I've been trying to do for the news that we do put out, though, is one, do exclusives so that really the stuff that I put out when such and such is going here and there, that's the news that I want to put out because you can only read that on GameSpot. Everywhere else that you are reading that is really just my story sourced out somewhere else. And I love to have as many exclusive pieces on GameSpot as possible because then I know that we were the authority on the story that entire time. And that not only do we get the traffic, but we get the branding and the respect that we were the source.
Okay. All right. Continuing. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there. Just stop for a second.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about?
Journalism, or
we're talking about
like
GameSpot.
that?
Difference between GameSpot,
GameSpot,
you on
yeah.
GameSpot, and
so I really want to bring the exclusive news to GameSpot, where all the discussion on all the other community sites that you read about it, whether it's Team Liquid or the League of Legends, Dota 2, StarCraft subreddits, or Gosu Gamers, or Shuriken, or Event Hubs, or whatever, that you know that story came from me, and that the branding was GameSpot and the authority was GameSpot on that story. I think that holds a lot of power, not just the traffic, but that people know that if they want the real inside scoop, that they come to GameSpot. And then I think the last thing is, when I've been doing a lot of these bigger stories on, who's winning, whoever won this event, or who's being signed to who or whatnot, I try to get at least one or two quotes from the party involved to put in the story.
Yeah, somebody was asking that too. If you, once you get the story, do you end up going to, either afterwards or during to one of the teams or the players, whoever you're making the story about? Do you go to them later and be like,
yes,
I've got this story. Do you want to give me the exclusive now on it, like from your mouth?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, there's two things. One is whenever there's an event happening, like Apex, as an example this past weekend, or GSL, I'm trying to write up what's happening about Apex and then also get a comment from the winner of the tournament. Usually I have to wait till they fly back home and then get on on Skype or Facebook or whatnot to actually give me a statement. But I'm trying to always include, also for tournament results, a statement from the player or team to include in the story, so it is more like real sports. It's not just the news of who won, but it's also a comment, oh yeah, we played great out there today, we're the best, blah, blah, whatever bullshit here it is that you always hear, right?
Right.
We still need to include that more. I've been trying to do that in the stories. And then also there are bigger things where, yeah, to go to a player or team or a league afterwards and to then set up a bigger interview to do a feature on by itself. Not just to get one or two quotes in to complete a news story, but to do an entire interview.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right, guys, why don't we start taking some questions from callers? You guys cool with that?
I'm perfectly fine.
All right. Rod, you cool with that?
Yeah, man.
All right, Michael, actually, the guy that's been feeding John questions the whole time wants to call in, so I tried to do something with the windows here. It didn't quite work. Rod, you need some pictures of yourself, man.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hi, how are you?
Good. You got a question?
Yeah, well, John took all my questions.
Okay.
Well,
I
you
thought you
fed
had-
them to me, so I
I
asked.
thought you had more. Okay.
I got one more, but I don't know if it's going to work out, but let's give it a shot.
Just ask it. Yeah.
I wrote, given your position at GameSpot as sort of a gateway from traditional gaming fans towards making them more sort of esport related, do you think your content should vary more towards unique topics than the traditional, team announcements and interviews that, other esports news media teams already do?
Yes, probably. It really should. I just think, and I've thought about this a lot over my time at GameSpot, I do think we need more features that are to a broader audience that, especially to the GameSpot audience, can help introduce them more towards esports and what it is. But each time I come back to, but if we don't have the core content there as well, then that's also going to bother me. So if I end up doing features on a certain team or player, but then there's no news on who won the most recent GSL or MLG or IEPL tournament,
Right.
then I think that there's, that we were missing something. And to me, I'd almost rather have the players and the leagues get the prominent feature and have the news be what gets the most attention right now until there can be another writer or two to come help me and or either do the news and then let me do features, or get someone in to do features themselves. Because I really want to do these broader topics, and I think GameSpot is a perfect place for that to happen, especially with an audience that a lot of the time is pretty destructive towards the esports community and their comments.
I was just going to ask that. Has it gotten better? Because remember, when you first started doing it, the comments literally were, "What is esports? This is crap." A bunch of kids fighting over who won what game, so on. Do you get a sense that maybe the direction is changing slightly?
I don't know about that. The comments are pretty similar. There's still a lot of what is this bullshit?
Seriously.
What the hell is pro video games? These guys are all nerds. There is still a lot of that, but there's always one or two comments every show where every post rather, that is, "Oh, I didn't know about this. This is pretty cool. I'll go check it out." And
Well,
as
that's all
long
that
as
matters.
there's one or two people every
Right.
single post, that really is all it matters. So I do know that there does need to be more content that appeals to that mainstream gamer to help them bring them into esports, and I am working on that. I think top 5 and top 10 lists are really good for that type of thing, showing them videos, best plays of the week, best games of the week. I think that's going to become a much easier way to appeal to the more mainstream gamer. I think those are things that I'm working on now. I'm trying to hope that I get some more people on board so we can fill out the news and properly promote the players and leagues that they deserve to get, and also get some unique features out as well.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we got... I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Captagen or iKill. How about iKill? I'll just call him iKill. Can y'all see his icon?
I see. Oh, hold on.
I don't know what's that from. I know that.
It's
game.
scary, whatever it is. I don't want to know. It's kind of scary, freaky.
What happened?
Okay.
The
I
call
guess
failed,
he's-
so.
Okay,
Oh,
well, I'll call him
scared.
back in a second. We'll get James in here. We got plenty of callers. If you guys want to call in, just start calling on just call me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV. James, you there?
Yeah, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. But yeah, cool. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. You got a question for us?
Yeah, I got like a kind of real question and then a more fluffy question for Slasher. So I'll go with the real one first.
Okay.
And feel free to throw the other one away. So I was watching the Pulse, the new StarCraft show on NASL recently, and they were talking about the necessity for like some of the Korean players to promote themselves more, like sort of build their own brands. And they were talking that there was a discussion as whose responsibility is that, and they kind of said, well, it's the team's responsibility. I just want to ask Slasher, do you think esports journalism should take up some of that responsibility for building players' brands, specifically the Koreans?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that I have done personally a pretty good job of doing that. That is why in Live on 3, most of the featured guests at the entire history of the show is always the champion of the most recent event. And I really have wanted to do that with Koreans. I've had Korean players wake up 4 weeks in a row at 9 a.m. for me in December to promote the players. I think it is as equal, even more responsibility on us as the media to push the players in the spotlight, because these are the guys that are truly pushing the sport forward. We can talk all about the teams and the leagues and even the games themselves, but the players are the ones that are playing it, and they're the ones that have skills that we are watching. And I really do think it is up to us to be able to push these personalities out to the audience and help develop even these personalities forward. I mean, it is the responsibility of the team because they're the ones that are paying them.
Yeah, they're supposed to be doing
Yeah,
that.
they're supposed to be doing it. But
Yeah, they're supposed to be doing that. It's their job.
My fear is that if we rely on the journalists to do it, if they have to take on that role, then the teams will continue skating by, as I think Chris and I have talked before, as they are doing right now. Many of them are just doing a piss poor job at promoting their players. My fear is that by you just saying that now, Slasher, I think some teams will be like, oh, sweet, somebody's going to do it. And that's exactly not what should happen. The team should definitely be doing it, and then followed up with what you guys are doing to even, to get it to a broader range of demographic.
Don't get me wrong. I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself because I like my job, and I think as a journalist, we should be pushing the players more than anything. But the teams are doing a terrible job.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Rod. And I do the same thing on just the small platform I have, with my shows. But I do love the fact that on such a bigger platform like Live on 3, you guys have the champions on as much as you guys have had recently, right? But yeah, the teams are just doing. Oh my God, it's like ridiculous how bad they're doing, and I think like as part of the media, I think we should do it just because we love this sport. We love this esport. And it's about the players. It really is. And if we want to grow this esport, then I think we as the media should be promoting the players. Should be, whether it's up-and-coming players, which I like to focus on more, or it's like champion, Korean players, which you guys tend to focus on too. We should absolutely be doing it, even if the teams don't do it. Whatever. I mean, if we're going to do them a favor here, then we do them a favor.
Yeah.
Whatever. But we should, as a community, be doing that more.
But we should definitely continue to get on the teams. And when we had Bitter on the show, when we first started this whole thing, that was his biggest thing too. And I think a lot of us have said the teams have got to do a much, much better job.
Sure.
I mean, EG is laying out the groundwork for what people need to do, and people don't follow it. They're piss poor at it. It's ridiculous.
Yep, agreed. All right, what's the fluff question, James?
So basically, it actually flows in quite well. So Slasher, recently, like Sophie has been helping you out on Live on 3 with translating the interviews and stuff. So I was just wondering, like, how involved in esports is she? Is this something that she's just getting into? Is it, Tell me about it.
Well, I met Sophie in New York City. It had nothing to do with esports at all. So she's not from this world. At all, but she just so happened to play Brood War when she was a kid, and she liked StarCraft. So I figured, well, that's cool. Why not just come see an event with me? It's pretty fun, and then of course translating is a logical, obvious next thing to do. So I took her to BlizzCon just to see BlizzCon for the GSL finals last year when MMA and MVP played, and that was crazy sick. And then she ended up doing a half-hour interview translation with MMA which was really funny because she had never played StarCraft 2 before, didn't really know any of the units. I gave her a crash course on like how everything worked. She hasn't played StarCraft in like 8-9 years, and she's had to relearn everything. Now we actually play StarCraft 2 2v2 a lot of nights, and she's enjoyed it. It's been pretty fun. I get good insight into the Korean scene. I really do, because I don't have to click the translate button when I go to Phomos or Inven or This Is Game. I can have Sophie literally translate it as legitimate, and also skim through it and give me info quickly. She like, whenever Jessica tweeted during the Slayers breakdown, I'm like, Sophie, come here, read this. What is Jessica complaining about now? I need to know, because I'm sure it's hilarious, and it always was. Jessica always came through with the hilariousness. She's really enjoyed it too. She's been able to make some good friends with the Korean players. Jaedong thinks she's hot, so I always get it. I always get it in.
You have to look at them.
Let's be honest. Our favorite Live on 3 episodes were the ones where Sophie's just translating. And where Rod's not even in the picture, right? Whenever right. But all right, thanks, James.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right,
Thank you.
Some more callers here. Let's see.
The guy that you kicked off because he had a scary icon is trying to call back, just so you know.
Okay, yeah. Let me get him. Actually, let me get him right after Peter. I told Peter he was next.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Hey, Peter. What's up?
Good.
Nothing much.
Got a question?
I have a couple questions. The first one is, do you think like an NA or EU StarCraft like league, like the Riot League, would be good for just to help grow StarCraft? I feel like the event model is cool, but I think maybe like an NA league would be better. And I think my other question is, how close are we to seeing major sponsorships in esports? Like, how close are we to Coca-Cola, Idra? And my mic's a piece of crap, so I'll take my answers up here. Thank you.
Can I answer any of those?
Okay, thanks. Go for it, man.
Okay. The first question is, I needed to define, and I probably should wait till he got should ask before he got off, but define, is he thinking that Blizzard's direct involvement in a league would be good? If that's the case, my question is no, for the most part. I'd have to go on with that, but I don't think developers taking over each of their individual games is a good thing. I very much prefer having the organization still continue to run those. And then his question about a large sponsorship, I think it could have been done a year ago had the organizations collaborated closer and sooner. But I think once they do, if they define any sort of circuit structure or North American league type structure, I know we have NASL, but imagine 3 large event organizations getting together, pooling their resources, and being able to go to Adidas or Coca-Cola or McDonald's and saying, hey, we now have 3 times not necessarily 3 times the reach because we're all working within the same space, but here's the resources that we have. We've pooled them together. I think you'll see some larger sponsors start to pull in. However, you can see some sponsors are leaving as well, and sponsorships are being broken. And I think so. I think the collaboration will be key because I think it will show more sustainability and more stability.
Yeah, I mean, just my comment, just quick comments on the whole league kind of league model or whatever. I mean, we do have NASL, right? But NASL, he mentioned North America. I don't know if he meant NA only, or if he meant just having one in NA, which is kind of what the NASL is right now, even though it's primarily Korean players. I mean, it's probably half Korean players at this point. But I don't, I kind of agree with John where I think in an ideal world it'd be nice if the developer wasn't like completely involved, but given the current state of esports, all the money is with the developer like Riot. I mean, if somebody else came in here with like $100 million and wanted to do this, as a league, as a tournament organizer, league type of organizer, then I think we could accomplish probably something pretty similar. But right now, the developers have all the money, so I can't really say it's a bad thing because we just need money right now. So And then as for what was the second question? Second question was about sponsors. I think we're
Right.
close. Actually, I don't think we're that far away. I think we might see some non-endemic sponsors this year, like pretty big ones. And I mean, we're already talking about some with League right now, but yeah, I think we're pretty close. What do you think, Ron?
I agree with all that. I mean, the big three are gonna, if you put NASO in there, they're gonna keep competing with each other. MLG and IPL are not gonna be working together anytime soon. Does not seem like NASO is going to be either. So let them battle it out.
Exactly.
I think Blizzard and Riot and Capcom and Valve, they're all gonna have different approaches in the way they do things. I just think that Blizzard especially should help structure the events so that they do not collide on each other, and that the players, teams, and media can all have the best time to go to each of them. And I think that should be the extent that what Blizzard does in terms of the leagues and how they have much hands-on. They should focus more on the game, making the game better, making the Battle.net experience better, because there's a whole lot of issues there. They have time to work on that. They don't need to get so much involved in the leagues.
Exactly. All right, let's take two more. We'll take that iKill guy now. Let's see if he's gonna hop on here. Dogsog. That's such a good name. This guy's calling his name Dogsog. That's interesting. So I'm trying to reserve a clan name, by the way, for all the fans of the ChanmanV shows. So I'm trying. If you guys have any suggestions on reserving a clan name inside of Heart of the Swarm, let me know.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah, shoot,
Mr. ChanmanV.
Oh boy, here we go.
I know where your name comes from, and
Yeah.
why do you do this?
Why do I do this? What do you mean? Oh, why do I do what?
Why do you have your name? Why do you have your nickname as ChanmanV?
Oh, I thought you said you know why I do that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
There was, back on Battle.net Brood War, there were two infamous accounts, one of them being ChanmanX,
right?
which was a legendary guy. He had like 50,000 wins and 4 losses or something, and he played BGH, and he had 2 or 3 buddies equally with these crazy accounts.
Yep.
And they were legendary, and then they disappeared one day.
Yeah.
So
it's because I just consumed them and then became and we became what? No. Actually, I came with my name. It actually predates all those guys.
you predate ChanmanX.
Yeah, actually,
You just happen to have Chanman a letter, and it happened to be V.
You were back on Cali. I'm surprised you never ran into me on Cali. It was back in the Warcraft 2 days. There were multiple Chanmans back in the Warcraft 2 days.
It's a clan?
And, no, it wasn't a clan. It was
You just were all Asian?
No, I don't know. They're all last name Chan, so they might have to be all,
They're all
Chinese, right? Yeah, they were a bunch.
I
So I was the 5th one, and V just, whatever. I just decided to take V, and, I was a hardcore Warcraft 2 player. Like, back in the day, I'm not even sure if you kept up with it back in the War 2 days, but remember, do you ever remember the IWL and NWL and those leagues?
I would know.
Yeah, this was like a long time ago. So anyways, like I used to compete in those, and so that's just kind of where those, where that my name came from, and yeah, ChanmanX and all those guys. I actually predated all those guys, so I had it first.
Ow.
All right, let's get iKill on here.
You're gonna try again.
Yeah, that's the last time iKill. It's your last chance.
I told him to message me
go.
if it's. You get him?
Yep. Actually, he renamed him to be the
Alright.
captain. What's up, man?
Hey.
Hey.
The name I had before that you couldn't pronounce was actually just the captain in Danish, so I renamed it.
Okay.
That's it.
Good
Okay, my
deal,
question
good deal.
is, I've got 2 actually. The first question is, recently there's been a lot of discussion about some more controversial kind of sponsors entering the esports scene. I think there was the thread on Reddit at one point with a vodka company considering sponsoring DreamHack, and there's been some talk about things like cigarette companies, porn sites, stuff like that, sponsoring tournaments in the future. What do you guys think about that? What kind of impact would that have on the scene?
I think Brazer's on the scene would have a great impact on the good studio and everything that they do over there.
Oh,
So I
Jesus.
really hoping that comes to fruition. No, but really, I think I don't have a problem with alcohol. I find that so apparent in all sports that I think we need to get a major alcohol sponsor sooner for one of these leagues or teams. I think EG may have an Anheuser-Busch sponsorship, like Alex Garfield has mentioned it before on a panel,
Really?
and it's come up before. It hasn't been very prominent right now, but it needs to be done. I think we need more drinking at events. I understand that this thing is more as a lower age group because it is video games as opposed to traditional sports, but I still think it's a sports thing. We need alcohol. We want to drink at events. We want to yell at events. And we want alcohol sponsors because that is one of the major sponsors of all major sports in both Europe and North America, and probably Asia and cricket and everything else. I don't even know, but I'm sure it is.
Well,
It needs to happen in esports. Cigarettes, no. That should not happen. Porn, no. Alcohol, yes.
So, out of the 3 vices, you get to choose which one. What if I decide I think cigarettes and porn first, and then beer and alcohol? I'm going to go with cigarettes and porn. I think those are okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure where I lie on this. I think it would be interesting to see alcohol at events. I mean, I think we'd have to get, where they'd be making revenue in alcohol, they're going to have to be spending money on security, with the addition of alcohol. But wasn't that one IPL event? Wasn't there alcohol at that one IPL event?
No, you could drink at all IPL events. They're inside of casinos.
Okay, yeah,
that's the whole point.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the actual inside the conference, venue.
Yeah, no, you can bring alcohol inside of IPL. You had to walk up and go get it. At IPL 3 in Jersey, it was literally right there.
Yeah, I remember that.
But you could, and ASL had alcohol also, so you can get alcohol. I really like being able to drink at an event. I have actually never drank at the event because I can't because I'm working. But everybody else should be drinking. Everyone that's not working should be drinking at these events if you're able to. I don't know. I'm used to going to sports events and drinking. I think if we want to take this further and further into the sports competitive atmosphere and having a bunch of drunken fans yell, "Fucking you suck!" while drunk is what we need.
Yeah, I mean, people might say that's, want to see kids or whatever, but, baseball, they serve beer at baseball, and, lots of parents take their kids to baseball games, so, yeah, I think alcohol would be fine. A sponsor would be great. I mean, Anheuser-Busch sponsoring anybody? Oh, man, that'd be great. So, let's see it. Hopefully we'll see that soon.
All right,
bud. Thanks.
Before I go, I got one with Lasher. Obviously you've been in the scene for a long time, but what kind of advice would you give to up-and-coming esports journalists that are just coming into the scene now and starting doing esports coverage?
I would probably say to pick something specific that you would like to work on. If you're gonna be writing about all games, you need to pick a certain thing that you'd probably be very good at. If it is interviews, or if it is features, or if it is news, or if it is recaps, try to do one of them really, really well, or do one game really, really well. Pick League of Legends or StarCraft or Dota 2. Usually you have to be a player and a good player in that one game to do it like that. But that also really helps. I don't think people realize that enough. Being better at the game that you're playing really does help when you are writing in-depth reporting about that game. Because it's going to be surface stuff like news and such. You're not going to be able to ask many. It's not going to be very prevalent, but if you wanted to go more in-depth, you need to know as much about the game as possible and be good at the game. So I would say that, and really honestly, a lot of it's coming to video now. If you want to get bigger, you should try to start doing some combination of video and text.
How good are you at StarCraft?
Not that great at all, really. But the thing is, it does hurt me because I'm not an expert at StarCraft. I think like my Quake interviews are probably the best thing I could ever do because I am very high skilled at Quake. So it does hurt that I'm not a top tier StarCraft player. But it's also, if you do your research and if you watch the games and at least you know is what's happening and what should be happening at a top level, then you'll do a pretty decent job.
Yeah.
But you do have to watch. Like, I have seen every single major tournament since the beta of StarCraft 2 till now. I've watched pretty much everything, every GSL season, all of it.
Yep.
And it takes that type of dedication. You have to watch everything. Really, don't be like these guys on this show or the other show or even Live on 3.
Oh, come on, dude. You're talking about John.
You watch the goddamn games. Do not tell me that you did not watch the tournament yesterday. I do not want to hear that shit. Wake up at 5 a.m. to watch GSL, then watch Pro League,
Exactly.
then don't sleep. Go watch all the online stuff. That's what you have to do if you're really dedicated.
I wake up at 4 a.m. every weekend to watch Pro League.
Awesome,
There you go.
awesome. There you go. All right, thanks,
go.
buddy.
Thanks, man.
Dude, I take offense to that, Rod. I watch everything too, man. So.
You have my love, all right? Chanman, you got my love. John and Paul. Paul's going to be thrown in there too. You guys.
Hey, I can't watch every game.
Wheat,
Dude,
Scoots,
If I can, then
Too
you
Good,
can.
all you guys,
Your
watch the
video,
damn games.
Your video's frozen, John.
Mine
Steve
is?
B. Yeah. Steve B, what's up?
Can you hear me though?
Hey guys, this is Steven. Oh shit, let me mute this. Okay, so
Yeah,
I've been playing competitive fighting games for about 4 years now. I started in 2007. Well, what is that? 6 years now. I went to every season's beatings in 2007, or 2007, 2008, 2009. I've gotten top 32 in every game, but I went to EVO, I went to UFGT, I went to Midwest Championships, and now I'm starting to try to go into PC games. And Rod, what I don't see on your website, Gamespot, which I was a very, very, very frequent reader, and I do read the comments and everybody's sports. I wish that you had more intro videos, because I can play League of Legends, and I have like a 2300 ELO, and when I play that game, it's fun and all, but I want to learn StarCraft 2, and I have no clue what's going on when I watch the videos. When I watch the live stream of Jadong, and all I keep seeing is the screen flashing over and over and over and over and over, and I try to look up Zerg videos, and I have no clue what's happening. What is... I don't understand. I wish that you had more content for beginners, true beginners, to get them braced into esports, instead of saying, hey guys, this is Life, he won this tournament, this is Nesty, he won this tournament. Instead of doing that, I wish that you had more, okay guys, you guys want to learn StarCraft, you want to learn how to watch it, this is what you need to do, because I want to get into it. I watch Pro League usually every other night to watch the AGDQ games, and I just can't, I don't understand what's all going on. I watch Thorzane, I watch Stefano, I watched him the other night. What else did I watch? I watched Puma, Hero.
Yeah, you should, like, instead of just jumping right into Pro League, which, like you said, you need to actually have a really good understanding of what's going on to really consume it. I mean, you should be watching like Day 9 dailies and some of Husky's, maybe some of Husky videos. And
okay.
John's gone here.
How many videos? How many videos will it take me to watch to fully grasp what's going on in these games? Because like when I used to watch fighting game tournaments, I knew exactly what was going on because I played it every day. Yeah. But when I try to even brace myself into StarCraft, I get beat every single day, and I can't get past Gold League, and it's just like, this is the hardest thing in the world for me. And
the game itself might have a pretty high skill gap. The curve for building skill is probably higher.
You need to restart your video, John.
I used to go to every MLG. I went to MLG Orlando in 07. I used to play Halo 2. I used to play Gears of War. I used to play Shadowrun. These were my things back in the day, and now everybody's moving on to PC gaming. And I don't find fighting games fun anymore, so I decided to learn PC gaming. And it's just something to kill time at night because I don't have much of a scene anymore. So I'm just trying to make...
Man, fighting games are bigger than ever.
No, Rod, you come to Omaha, Nebraska, and...
That's where I'm at.
Okay, John. John, there's one guy on 96 The Mockingbird who hosts games, but everybody else doesn't host games. And so when you try to get to meetups, it's only Thursday nights King of Fighters at Jamar's house. So
Jamar's house.
It's the toughest time, man, to get games in. And
right, Rod. What do you got? What advice you got from Rod?
Are you a Street Fighter player?
Yes, I play Street Fighter. I play King of Fighters. I play. What's up?
Why don't you go play with Wheat? Just go knock at his
you
door.
got Wheat
just
and
find
John.
his house, and
Does Wheat actually play though? Because I don't want to demolish Wheat, man. I don't want to demolish Wheat.
I think I don't think you have that. Look, the fighting game scene is doing all right now. If things may be tough for you specifically in where you are, but overall, majors are still getting more players. I think fighting game scene is all right. Oh, but in general, I do agree with you. I would love to have more intro videos and features on the site to help people get into it. It's just that does require more manpower, and also you do need an expert in each individual game to really bring you through to where it should be. I mean, I can give a basic breakdown of how to watch a StarCraft 2 eSports video. It is true. Maybe there should be something done. This might be a good idea of what to look for on the GUI of each HUD for each game that will help you watch the game. But even if I do that, it still requires more explaining of StarCraft itself and what is happening. I think it is something that I will look at and do want to do.
Thank you, Rod. I just want to learn. I want to watch. I want to enjoy. I went to Omaha's only hosted one Barcraft, and I went to it, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that you were right about the beer sponsorship, and I wish that more people did that, but I want to get more people into it so that they can watch it.
I guess Wheat and I will just have to get together and run some events here in town for you.
There you go.
Okay, John. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Z.
Are you in the same town too?
Yeah. They live down the street from each other, I think. Okay, last call. Kurt wants to call in.
Yeah, go play that guy, man. He's hungry.
No kidding, man. Man.
We're actually going to get our...
he's a gold... I mean, I'm surprised because he's a gold player. I mean, gold players should actually have a decent understanding of what even watching competitive StarCraft, so...
No, sir.
What's up,
I don't
Kurt?
know what you're talking about. What's up, guys?
Key Hunt in the house.
How are you?
Everybody doing all right?
Yep, your video still doesn't work, John. I don't know what's up with it, man.
Fail, John. Fail.
So we got
I had all kinds of questions, but now I want to get straight to this sort of breaking news question that I think should be really interesting. So we see that EG has removed the SteelSeries logo finally from their website from the Facebook. So my question is not necessarily a vague question of who are they going to go to or anything like that. I think that would almost be obvious, but my question relates to how hard is it going to be for players like In Control and Idra, who have sort of almost built a part of their brand on SteelSeries as using SteelSeries products. I mean, more so than any other team, effectively. I mean, they've done a great job. A great job of that. How hard is that going to be to switch over to a new sponsor and be like, we now like these better?
It's part of life. I think.
How hard is it to change what's on their overlay?
Yeah. and they can just box up all those goodies and send them my way. I'll raffle them off or something. But
I'm sure they'll find something to do with them.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. I mean, I'm kind of a brand loyalist, so I
understand all teams
some players
go through
it might be difficult.
All teams go through it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm calling out EG for it. It's just they've done a better job at sort of supporting, especially a team like SteelSeries that they've had for a long time before they had Razer and then before they had Z board or whatever. So like now that In Control is going to have to like switch up his shit and start really talking a lot about whatever peripheral they end up with. It's just interesting.
I see it really as John said. Business is going to be business.
Yep.
I think most people will understand that. Even though it's been like that for a long time, if another company comes in and gives a better deal, then that's going to be the team to come in. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when sports players switch shoes, allegiances. Most recently this past year, Arsenal, after 18 years of being partnered with Nike, switched to Adidas.
Thank God.
This has happened now several times back and forth between the NBA and NFL, with players having to switch shoes between Reebok, Nike, and Adidas.
And all that comes from is Reebok or Nike offer a better deal to the league, and boom, guess what? That's what the league can be sponsored by, and you're forced to wear.
So I do think that there is brand affiliation. Like, if you think of Michael Jordan, it is automatic all the time. Right? He is never going to switch. And I think that there are some brands and players and teams that should forever stay together. But it's still, if there's a better offer, it's going to come in. It's going to change.
That's not shit. What do you mean shit happens?
No, shit happens. I mean, in all seriousness, shit happens. Like,
that's not
it's not
bad.
necessarily
You're
a bad
saying,
thing.
you're saying, you're
It's
saying
probably
it's a
bad
bad
for
thing.
it's bad for still
necessarily a bad
series.
thing. We don't necessarily know it's a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that shit happens. Like, you not always can you stay with a particular brand, even if you want to. Because I'm sure EG didn't necessarily want to change, even if they were, offered similar or more money. So
True.
But anyway, all right. Another question. So Slasher, you've got a lot of shit for your quote-unquote sources lately and stuff like that. I don't necessarily know why, considering normally your sources are incredibly valid. I don't.
You know his sources?
You haven't exactly been wrong, too many times. So
Right.
I do not know his sources. Feel free. But my question goes back to sort of when it comes to releasing information. So releasing sort of players and players being picked up by teams and stuff like that. How far is too far for you? So like, because I'm all for it. Like, I think it's very interesting. I love the juicy gossip. Don't get me wrong, but at what point does it become actually too hurtful to the team? Would you release a contract? Would you release a financial document? Would you release anything like that if you got your hands on a reputable source and a reputable story for it?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I don't see anything as going too far as long as information or documents were obtained legally. So you can't break into like the EG offices and steal a contract sheet. You can't, hack into an email and take some information. But if a contract was taken from somewhere, gone to FedEx, scanned, printed, and then emailed to me anonymously, I would have, if I could go then and verify it that it was real and it was accurate, I would have a hard time not publishing it. So I also think it also is how important to me the story is in general and how interested I am. If I think it's an interesting story to be posted around, I am open to anything and everything, as long as the information was obtained the right way.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Last question.
Because I really don't think that it is something for me to worry about how I am affecting other organizations do their business. I am just here to report. And you can go along, continuing on to do what you want. I'm going to continue to report on you.
Okay, last question, kind of stupid question. If you knew now if you knew then what you know now, would you let MLG name, or would your show be named Fuck Slasher? Because you have to admit that's kind of backfired.
You know what? Probably not. No, probably not. But it happened.
Really?
It happens.
Yeah.
It's. I don't see it going away anytime soon. At least the meme or people saying about Slasher when they come up to me, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Probably wouldn't do it again, but I'm okay with it.
Okay. I actually lied
accepted
about
it.
the last
Okay.
question too. No, no.
Wait. Is this a Slasher 4-part question? What is wrong with you?
This is great, but
It's a run-on
I
question.
have to bring this up. Okay, we hear about this new Gambit eSports, I think's what they called, picking up M5. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A bunch of people lately have talked up for LOL. A bunch of people have talked about their Pringles sponsorship. Have you heard anything at all about this that would actually validate that sponsorship? Because you know as well as I do that people come into esports and they plaster a fucking logo on their team and like, we're sponsored, you know, it's not necessarily true or not, you know, like, I mean, EMG did it a long time with Papa John's and Pepsi and, you know, you name it, it's been done. So you heard any validity behind that?
So I don't really know a whole lot about Gambit Gaming so far. The ex-Moscow 5 guys are being managed by Groove, who was their manager at Moscow 5. Other than that, I don't know the owners of the team or the validity of any of the sponsorships, including the curly mustache. I have no idea if they're actually sponsored by Pringles or not, or what's happening there. But all the players do seem pretty happy. They declined to do interviews with me until IEM Katowice this weekend. So I think we should find out more information in the next week or so.
Cool. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, man.
man.
Oh, and then now John's video pops up all of a sudden.
Well, that's all right. I'm still here.
I know you are. All right, why don't we wrap this puppy up? Let's go into shout-outs and thank yous. Rod, you got any shout-outs you want to do?
I want to thank both of you for having me on today. I have enjoyed talking about journalism and esports, and I do think it is important for aspiring journalists out there to not give in, and don't worry, you're going to have to take a lot of heat. You're going to have to take a lot of criticism. You might not get noticed at all, and you will receive very little praise for the good things that you do. And all of those might be true, but in the end, it's still hard work, and it's something that needs to be done to make this a legitimate industry that we all live in. Live on 3 will be his first show of 2013 tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we have on some special guests that won the League of Legends qualifiers this weekend, and also one of the Apex winners.
Nice.
I am not able to get Huck on the show. I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but I asked if
interesting, huh?
Really?
I asked if I could get Huck on the show tomorrow, and I was told no. I was not told any reason why. So he might just be busy and be practicing for GSL. But you can.
So did you ask or did Marcus ask?
I asked.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the one that books the players on the show, so I'm the one that asked.
Gotcha.
And there is a good chance that Inside the Game is happening tonight with In Control and Idra, and they will be talking about things tonight from their side. I may pop on to hear what they have to say.
You may pop on. Come on, let's be real now.
It's going to be interesting. I didn't realize Inside the Game was happening tonight until a few hours ago, but
That's because they didn't want
He
you
just
to know.
announced. Well, Marcus just tweeted it, so it's.
They didn't want him
happening.
to know.
there you go. You want to hear the other side of the coin? Listen to them two tonight. Live on 3 will be here tomorrow.
That's why we got you on first, man.
Oh, and I guess finally, please go to Gamespot.com/esports as the esports hub on GameSpot. That's where all things will be posted, and you can see all coverage news. And I will try to work on some of the recommendations that people gave today, including easier to way to watch streams and the games, and try to get some features in.
Awesome, John. You got any shout-outs?
To those that that tuned in today and went through it. I mean, this is the second show in a row we've gone a half hour over, which is a long day, 2.5 hours. So thanks for those for tuning in. Wanted to mention that it's highly possible. I just need to confirm with Marcus, DJ Wheat, something interesting that I made a call to a local news talk station or show here in Omaha and in the Midwest, and they are on iHeartRadio, and mentioned having Wheat and myself go on and talk about gun violence and video games, so violent video games. So just follow me on Twitter if you want. I'll try to update on that. I'm sure if Marcus is going to do it, then he'll definitely tweet out about it. But I'm hoping for Thursday sometime in the morning around 10 a.m. or something. So be an interesting conversation, and I'll probably lose some fans in my own opinion on it. But I think with Wheat and I having been in it for so long and both having kids, I think it'd be an interesting. It'd definitely be an interesting conversation.
All right, and then I'll end it out with shout-outs to Rod, obviously, for coming on. Somewhat last minute, too, because we kind of had to change the plans. But, yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely need to have you back on sometime with Paul. I think that would be pretty fun. But, yeah, it's been amazing having you talk about journalism and all that good stuff. Obviously, to John, for doing this all the time with me, and all the viewers for tuning in. And I know we had a little issue there with the stream going down, but hopefully I can get the VOD up really quickly, even with that. But the VOD will be up probably in a couple hours. And one thing I want to do too is that the photo I used of you, I need to give props out to Anna Douglas, and I'm going to start doing that from now on because not accrediting photographers is definitely an issue, and we're going to be talking about that in an episode coming up, and we're going to be doing an episode all about photography and esports, but not next week. It'll be a little bit down the road. But I wanted to start this trend, at least on this show. And next week we're going to have Kevin Lin from Twitch TV on. He's going to talk about all the goodness that they're doing. And I need to get a Twitch shirt. Every time I try to get a Twitch shirt from Gunn and Ben, I never get one. So I don't think I'm going to have one in time for Kevin. So it's kind of a bummer. But yeah, but that's going to be it. And one last thing, kind of continuing the Pay It Forward, where all the two good folks came over here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Let's pick something to send our viewers over to. Actually, Ron, since you're the guest, why don't we pick something? Why don't I let you pick something?
Well, Inside the Game is going on in 20 minutes.
Yeah, they don't need help. No, I'm just kidding. In 30 minutes, check in Inside the Game. But in 30 minutes from now, it's like.
I think that's the main thing happening. MLG is doing Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, they're doing an arcade thing.
Rules of engagement are going on with XLab.
Oh, is Rules of Engagement? I thought they were doing that Heart of the Swarm arcade thing. Yeah, maybe go check that out. Check that out, or check. Let's see. Oh, our good friend Trimaster's streaming too. Maybe go check him out. He doesn't stream that often anymore.
The executives are coming back, and I lost the link, but it is on Reddit. And they're actually going to have Richard Lewis talking journalism again. It'd be interesting. I know that too. We were originally scheduled to have this week, and it's good, but he'll definitely have a different take on not different, but he'll definitely have a more vibrant conversation about journalism, and so that should definitely be worth tuning into.
Yeah, definitely check that out. And I think that's gonna be it, guys. I have to come up with a different sign off than Marcus's all the time. So I always say peace, and I'm not gonna say peace anymore. So we're gonna go with we'll go with see ya. How about that? Sound good, John?
We'll come up with something better next time. All right,
guys. See you next time. Guys.